Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Arja wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a tapped Temple of Deceit, scrying one and then passing. I follow his example with a tapped Stomping Grounds and pass. Metya breaks from the mold as he shocks in his Watering Grave, and he taps it for a Soul Ring, which he then taps for an Arcane Signet. Fred just sighs and plays a Forest, and enchants it with Abundant Growth. Arja's turn has a Drownyard Temple coming in, and he taps 2 for the standard veteran Kitesail Freebooter. He looks at Metya's hand, which is revealed, and Arja picks Animate Dead after I convince him of it, and it gets exiled under the Freebooter, and Arja passes turn. I've got a tapped Spine Rock Knoll for my turn, and I hide away one of my top 5. I then pay 1 for a Pip-Boy and pass to Matt. Matt's turn 2 has him casting Say Its Name, and he mills 3 cards, returning a swamp to hand. And now with the Colossal Grave Reaver in his graveyard, my choice of Animate Dead is looking real good. Metya then plays the swamp and passes. Fred plays a mountain and taps out for 3 visits. He goes to find a land, putting to Field of Breeding Pool untapped and taking 2. He then taps it for a blue, casting Mystic Remora, which he wishes he'd had before Metya's first turn. Arja's got a Darkwater Catacombs as his land drop, and brings out Malcolm. He then swings the Kitesail Freebooter at Metya, dealing 1 and making a treasure token, which he immediately uses for Moth Dust Changeling. I just have a Forest and pass. Metya's also got a Forest and is now able to bring out Teval, passing once his commander resolves. Fred decides to pay the cumulative upkeep cost for his Remora and then draws for turn. He plays an island for turn, and then taps out with enough mana for Eshki. Arja starts off turn 4 with Fransisco in his main phase, and then plays a tap Sunken Hollow. He makes Fred feel better about keeping the Remora around, as he casts Suspend and targets Teval, letting Fred draw a card. Going to combat, he sends Malcolm at Fred, the Kitesail at Matt, and the Changeling at me. All of the creatures connect, with Arja making 3 treasure tokens. He also gets 3 Explores on Fransisco. He hits 3 non-lands, putting all of them to graveyard. My turn has an Exotic Orchard, and I pay 4 for a Primeval Titan, Herald, and I go and find a basic to the field tapped. I then pass to Matt. Metya's got a tap Port of Karfell for turn, tapping 4 mana to cast Dread Return that we knew he had in hand. He lets Fred draw a card from the Remora, and then reanimates the Colossal Grave Reaver. As it comes in, he mills 3, but hits no creatures and has to pass. Fred decides to let the Remora hit his graveyard after drawing 2 from it, and draws for turn and plays a Reliquary Tower. He then pays a green and a blue for Uro, putting a +1/+1 counter onto his commander, drawing a card, and then dealing 3 to each of his opponents. Uro then enters, gaining Fred some life, letting him draw a card, and he gets to put out Kessig Wolfrun. He then sacrifices Uro. Fred then follows up by casting his own Soul Ring, and then taps enough mana for Rhythm of the Wild, passing after the enchantment resolves. Arja plays a tap land for turn, but has enough lands and treasures to pay 7 for a Duskmangler, paying 4 life for the additional cost. As it comes in, each of Arja's opponents discard, sacrifice a creature, and lose 4 life. Going to combat, Arja swings Fransisco at me, Malcolm at Fred, and the Kitesail at Metya. This has him making more treasures and getting 3 more Explorers. He hits a non-land which he bins, and then reveals Negate, keeping it on top twice. I play a Forest for turn, and cast my own Soul Ring. I then bring out Wulfgar, and once he's out, gear him up with the Pip-Boy, and pass. Metya removes the last Suspend counter on Teval, casting it for free, and it enters with haste. He then draws for turn, and plays a tapped Field of the Dead. Metya then pays 6 mana to activate and sacrifice Port of Karfell, milling some cards, and then bringing back the Colossal Grave Reaver. With it entering, he mills 3 more cards. This in turn hits a Turn Timber Sower, which he brings in, and he makes a zombie druid from the Grave Reaver and another one from the Turn Timber Sower leaving his graveyard. Going to combat, Metju then swings Teval at Arja, milling another 3. He hits a Nexus of Fate, which he shuffles back in, and whiffs on creatures, but does get to bring back the tap Port of Karfell, making another zombie druid token and a plant token from the Turn Timber Sower. Arja doesn't block, and takes the hit, and passes. Fred untaps and draws, playing a tapped Temple of Mystery and scrying 1. He then casts Garruk's Uprising, and follows up by casting Terror of the Peak. He draws a card from the Uprising, and has the Riot trigger give the Terror a +1/+1 counter, and passes after that. Arja draws the Negate on top, and then casts Feed the Swarm to take out the Colossal Grave Reaver, and loses 8 life. He then swings the Dusk Mangler at Fred, Fransisco goes at me, and Malcolm goes at Mathieu. None of us block, with Arja making some treasures and getting to explore. He hits Sauron's Ransom off the first Explorer, leaving it on top for this trigger and the other one. In his second main phase, Arja then spends 2 mana for a Departed Deckhand and ships it to me. My turn has a War Room coming in, and I cast a Mirage Mirror, and once Arja is back from the little wizard's room, I then tap enough for a Thundering Raiju. I then have the mirror become a copy of the Raiju, and I go to combat. I swing Wulfgar at Mathieu, and the Raiju's at Arja. My on-attacks triggers are now doubled because of Wulfgar, which gives me 2 Pip-Boy triggers. I pick the mode to untap 2 lands twice, untapping a total of 4. Wulfgar's melee goes off twice as well, giving him +2/+2 twice because I'm attacking 2 opponents. The Raiju's counters go off as well, and deal damage, totaling 6 damage to each opponent when all is said and done. However, Mathieu fogs combat with an Obscuring Haze before anything needs to be done about blocking, and with my combat step fogged, I then pass turn. Mathieu's upkeep has him tapping enough to sacrifice the Port of Karfell again, milling some cards, but hitting no lands among them. He once more returns the Colossal Grave Reaver, milling 3 more. He hits a land and a creature, which triggers all of his other creatures, making him a plant token, a zombie token, and the Grave Reaver brings back the Reclamation Sage. He then targets my Mirage Mirror with the Enter the Battlefield trigger, and with that on the stack, I activate it to have it become a copy of the Grave Reaver as well. Mathieu then moves to his draw step, and dredges instead of drawing, bringing back life from the loam to his hand, and dredging 4. He hits a land amongst them, making another plant token from the Sower. Mathieu then plays an island for turn, and brings back an earlier milled Bloodghast to the field. Going to combat, Teval swings at me, and Mathieu mills 3 more. Once more he brings back the Port of Karfell, and makes a plant token from the lands being milled, and a zombie from the land leaving the graveyard. I then take the hit for 4. In Mathieu's second main phase, he casts Light from the Loam, and returns 3 lands to hand, making another zombie token from Teval as he does so, and passes to Fred. Fred's turn has Animar coming in his main phase, stacking the trigger to resolve Riot first, and then deal 2 to Matt. We then see Arithmethes coming in, which adds a counter onto Animar, but sadly doesn't trigger the terror like Fred had hoped. It gains Riot from being cast, so it's a land with a +1/+1 counter as it enters. Fred then ships the turn after that. Arja draws the Ransom, and casts it in his main phase, giving Fred his top 4. This has Fred making 2 piles on my table, something Mathieu loves to do, and Arja picks the face down one, and isn't disappointed. Moving to combat, Malcolm goes at Fred, the Kitesail at Mathieu, and Fransisco once more goes at me. Everything connects since they're flyers, and Arja gets 3 more treasures and 3 more explorers. He reveals a Brainstealer Dragon to the first, and with the 2 remaining Explore triggers on the stack, Arja responds to his own triggers with Thought Scour. He has Fred mill 2 and draws a card. Arja then reveals a Windreader Sphinx, binning it, and giving Fransisco a counter, and then Dread Return, and bins it as well. Arja's second main phase then has him paying 7, and casting the Brainstealer Dragon he'd drawn, and then moves to his end step. This has the dragon exiling each of his opponent's top card face up. Also before leaving Arja's end step, I use War Room, losing 2 life to draw a card. I cast Anduril, Narsil Reforged, ascending as it enters, and I then gear it up onto Wulfgar. I then pay 2 to make the Mirage Mirror into a copy of the Colossal Grave Reaver. Moving to combat, the Reaver goes at Mathieu, while Wulfgar and the Raiju go at Arja. This has Narsil Reforged triggering twice, and adding 4+1/+1 counters to my entire board. Wulfgar's melee then triggers twice, giving him a total of +4/+4, and I then resolve the Pip-Boy, untapping 2 lands, and then using the mode to draw a card and discard a card. The Raiju triggers then add more counters, and deal 3 twice to each opponent. I also realize that Colossal Grave Reaver has an on-attack trigger, milling me for 3, one of which is Nylea, which I bring back. I then resolve my second Reaver trigger, milling 3 more, and bringing back an Inferno Titan this time. It deals 3 damage to Fred as it enters, and Mathieu and Arja are now easily taken out because of the new trample that Nylea grants. In my second main phase, I then use my Spine Rock Knoll to cast Full Throttle from exile. This has me gaining 2 more combat steps, which is way more than enough to take out Fred, and I win the game. Game review time. This was certainly a quick one, and it didn't help that I had Wulfgar, which basically meant combat step was my domain, and I was swinging like crazy. That Full Throttle was just over the top and awesome, and I love it so much. And copying the Colossal Grave Reaver, and then getting 2 of its mills and bringing back 2 creatures for free was just absurd value. I'd say that the Mirage Mirror was probably the MVP for this game, followed closely by the Colossal Grave Reaver, only because it seemed like the creatures that I was milling were higher impact than Mathieu's. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet. It wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.